Welcome to MyCounselor.Online. I'm Kathy. This is Asking for a Friend. That's where you submit your questions and I track down one of our awesome therapists and get them to answer your question. So today I have Josh with me. Josh, thanks for meeting with me. And our question comes from Nick. Well, I think it comes from somebody for Nick. And it says, Nick has lost many friends in the past due to them choosing to spend their time elsewhere. His small childhood church has been on a decline and new folks rarely attend who are his age. He's stressed at his job despite the blessing it has been for his family. He wants to move away from his childhood town and try something new, but he's not sure it's the right decision. He has a wife and 2 small children. Should he move them away from family for his happiness? Josh, what do you want to say to Nick?
Well, I want to say thanks, Nick, for submitting your question, or whomever cares about Nick that submit this question on his behalf, and say this is one of those tough situations in life where there's not a clear answer. There's not a definitive yes or no, do this, don't do this, and not really like a wide stick that you can use to determine what's the absolute right course of action. And so when I'm walking with somebody through a situation like this, there's a few things that I want to kind of spread out on the table, because this process has lots of moving parts. The situation has lots of moving parts. And if you don't think through all the different pieces, then you find yourself in a worse situation than you were before, right? Which is part of the analysis paralysis that can sit in and cause us just to not make a decision at all, even though it's not going well, we're not feeling good about our life or situation. So the first thing that I kind of spread out is just say that a new destination isn't necessarily going to change your situation. That sometimes we think if I just get away from here and I get someplace else, things will be better in a different location. But unlike the airports, our baggage always shows up at our new destination. And we get there and sometimes find that in a matter of time, we're right back in the same situation we were. That maybe it wasn't completely the environment that we were in, but instead some stuff that's going on inside of us that is creating some of our situation and circumstances. And so we want to be careful not to put all of our hope in just changing our situation or our circumstances. Usually what I encourage folks to do is figure out how to be happy where you're at. And from that standpoint, from that place of strength, decide whether or not you want to go someplace else. Because relocating, moving someplace else may be the best option for you and for your family. But if you're hanging your happiness or your hope for happiness on relocating to a different location, more times than not, people find themselves disappointed by that. A better route is figure out, how do I find happiness where it is that I'm at and know how to cultivate that in my life. And from that place of strength, be able to decide, where do I want to go? Where would the Lord take me? What would the Lord have for me? And so that's something that I commonly encourage clients in and that we talk through. Have to also understand that as a married person and with kiddos, there's other people involved in the dynamic. And it can be really detrimental to kind of drag a family through a significant change like that in the pursuit of one's happiness, especially if when you get wherever it is you're going, you're not actually happy. I see that in my office at times, and there's a lot of marital stress and distress that comes from that. And so you want to be careful not to go that route. But it can be really helpful to connect with a counselor in a situation like this, because all of the people in our life have a dog in the hunt. They've got some sort of vested interest in their own impact in their life that's going to come of this decision. And so it's difficult to just have a place where you can process out loud all of the different moving pieces, all the different thoughts, without having to worry about how those thoughts are going to trigger fears in others and kind of maybe cause them to feel anxious and get stirred up by it. Talking with a counselor, they don't have a dog in the hunt. They don't have any bias or interest one way or the other. They don't presume to know what it is God would have for you, but instead are going to help you ask the important questions that need to be thought through and help you think through how you go about answering those questions to make sure that you are not just deceiving yourself, fooling yourself, talking yourself into things that you want to believe to be true that maybe just aren't, and to make sure that you don't really damage the important relationships in your life trying to find a solution that may or may not be a real solution for you. So I'm glad that you're asking these questions. I'm glad that Nick is looking for some help in the situation. And I'd really encourage you to connect with somebody that can sort through these questions with you, who's going to give you the space to do so without stress or pressure.
Yeah, that's great. Josh, thank you for answering this question. And Nick, thanks for, or whoever, for submitting this question on Nick's behalf. And hopefully that was helpful to you. And if you have a question, you can ask one of our awesome therapists by submitting your question to our Asking for a Friend page. Then I will track them down, have an online meeting with them like this, and we will post that up on our Asking for a Friend page, as well as an upcoming edition of our weekly e-newsletter, so you can look for it there.